that does not show up on your personal, that is game changing, that sets you up for the future. And when it comes to um, your investments, your business, and also sets things up to where you don't have to in the future maybe even leverage your personal credit. We're going to talk about all that again this evening, and much love and happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And I am here, like I said, sharing this information once again because I believe it is just so powerful and useful and impactful. I want everybody to um, have access to it, right? And this is a formula that works, and it's worked for me in particular. I'm Kyle Alexander, and I have over the past 4 years been in the entrepreneurial space, and have uh, over the course of that time period, between myself and my wife, we've gained over $500,000 in business credit after learning about it in a course that we took. And I just dug in and just kind of push forward and got through it. And I've been able to use that for all sorts of things, for business and real estate and mentorships, and just getting into some amazing rooms around amazing people. And it's really changed my whole life. And so I want everybody to know about it, to know how you can access it, the fact that it is very accessible to you, and it's something that you don't have to wait on. It's something you can take action on today, either just working towards it, or some of you might just be literally sitting on it right now. You may be sitting on 100K, 120K, 150K that you could be using for your business, and just you don't even know it. So I just want to break down how that's possible, what that might look like for you. And we're just going to dive into it and just show the extreme power of this, especially as a first step when it comes to business credit. There's a lot of ways to get funding for a business, a lot of different funding products and things like that, but this method in particular is so powerful because it sets up, it's like a big domino for all of the other things. And I'm going to explain like why that is in a few minutes. But um again, if you're watching this, and please share this with somebody. I'm gonna be sharing the gems. I have paid a good amount of money for this information, and I want to be able to give it to you tonight for free, so you can push your life forward, push your family forward, and be able to paint the vision for the future, for generational wealth and all that. So good evening, everybody. Again, I'm glad to be here. I'm ready to just dive straight in. Put your questions in the chat, right? If you have questions, put them in the chat. And you can my biggest thing that I would encourage for you, if you're just stopping through, and maybe you're full on Thanksgiving dinner, but if you're just stopping through, the most important thing that I would say is you need to book a free consultation call with the team to look at your next step. And you can go to fundingmyfuture.net, or you can go to the link in my bio, or you can text me at 240 and we can get that loaded up. So let's talk about here. And they got like 100,000 in business credit over the course of a year with doing multiple rounds and back and forth and things like that. This I'm talking about, we can get you 100,000, 120, 150 in the first like 30 days. Right. So this is a very, very powerful angle. And it's something that you can leverage now, right? So the business credit is we're using these products that do not show up on our personal credit, right? If you don't take anything else away, this is like something that you have to understand. Hopefully you have been studying about this, but something you have to understand and just get into your system, that you can use these funds on the business side and not impact your personal credit. And there's so many business owners, so many real estate investors that I know, and who are leveraging their personal credit to be able to do deals. And I was just talking with somebody who in a real estate group, and they were saying that they use personal credit to fund their last flip. and they had all the, the contractors and the materials and all that stuff was on their personal credit, and everything was just bogged down because now their scores all messed up, because everything is tied into that, right? So in this case, we can be using business credit for everything that we need to do, and for everything that we need to do. And we can also leverage that in a way that we don't have to use any documentation to get into it, right? So this is no tax returns, no personal financial statements, no business plans, no proof of revenue, none of that stuff. And what that does is that automatically cuts out all of the excuses, like all of the red tape that you might have in your mind about, okay, well, maybe I can't qualify for this, or this is not going to work for me. That removes that like immediately from the equation, right? So and why is that important? Because now you can run with it like literally right now, to be able to move things forward in your life and in your business, right? So I want to dive into the requirements, like what is this, what is the blueprint, right? I'm going to give you the sauce, like exactly what you need to be able to know whether you are lined up for this, and some different ways that you can leverage it, right? So again, if you are here, good evening and welcome. And I want you to put your questions in the chat, right? Because I want to answer this directly for you. Please take advantage of this. Like I said, I've spent a lot of time and money, even on the client side first, working with different companies and understanding how it works, and then in mentorship programs and things like that. And now I help people to get access to this funding as well. So please take advantage. Whatever question you feel like is the thing that you don't understand, or some myth that you heard, and I do want to break down and clear up. There's a lot of different ways to approach this, and you'll hear a lot of people talk about different methods. And this one, I believe, is one of the fastest, and the one that kind of knocks out all the other dominoes, like I said, right? So let's keep it rolling. So again, share this with somebody. I'm going deep. I've been going live, pretty much every day, and I'm going deep again right now. And I want to give you all the information that I can to set you up for success, right? So let's keep going. So number one is we want to talk about how we can leverage it, but also what are the requirements, right? So if you're watching, please get a pen, write this down, take out your notes, whatever you need to do, right? What's going on, Miss Hawk? What's going on, Taylor? So whatever you need to do, write this down, right? So number one is your personal credit profile needs to be a certain way, right? If you have these two pillars, this like eliminates pretty much everything else, right? It's Sharini. What's up? Rudine, what's happening? Hey Taylor, what's going on? So if you have these two pillars, this eliminates like everything else, right? So I just told you that if I have I can get access to this without any bank statements, without any tax returns, without any proof of business revenue. Even if my business like just started literally yesterday, I can get access to this. So how is that possible? Is because of these two things I'm about to tell you. And it's just something that if you don't know it, you just literally have to know about it in order to know that you can leverage it, right? So this is really critical, right? So the personal credit profile. Now, this is not just the personal credit score, right? So you hear a lot of people talk about scores, and okay, you need a 680 plus, or 700 plus, or 720 plus. Her Excellency, what's going on? Good evening. 720 plus, which is true to a degree, but it's also not true, because if you have the score, it doesn't automatically mean that you have the qualifications, right? Because the score is made up of a certain mathematical equation of certain things in your credit report, right? So if you have these things, then that's how many points you get in each category, and it adds up to your score, right? But that doesn't always mean that you have enough of what the banks want to see, and that's what I'm going to lay out for you, like literally right now. So like I said, please get a pen and write this down, because this is once you know this unlocks so much, either for you or for someone else. And I want you to really absorb like the power of this, right? So I'm going to go through the requirements. We're going to talk a little bit about more of the nuances, right, of how you can leverage this, and why you'd want to leverage this first and foremost, why it's so important to prioritize your personal credit, and why it's important to really continue to dig into this, and then we'll keep pushing in that way, right? So let me just make sure I am I'm tapped in. Yeah, let me just make sure. I think I was on the wrong Wi-Fi. We can't be dimming our light this evening. All right, so let's go for it. I think that'll be better. So again, put your questions in the chat. Like I said, anything, ask me anything, right? And I'll kind of spill things out as we go. But let's jump right into it. Number one is first the personal credit profile needs to be a certain way, and then number two, the second pillar is your LLC or your entity. It needs to be structured in a way that the banks like to see it, right? So when we have those two things together, we combine them and we can move forward and be able to access again 100K, 120K, 80K, 150K in the next 30 days, right? And be able to repeat that process pretty much every 6 to 12 months. You can repeat it, right? And the good thing about working with us that might be a different than a lot of people, if you decide to do that, is this is a consultation process where it's like we're educating you on how to do it, right? So you'll be able to leverage these same things going forward and be able to basically learn how to fish, as opposed to just kind of getting a one and done service and that's just it. That's where it's cut off. So this is a powerful point. Again, a reason that I suggest that you book a call with the team, right? So let's go through it. So number one is your personal credit cards, right? You need to have a few personal credit cards that are at least $10,000 in your overall limit, right? So all of your accounts, your credit cards added up, is it at least $10,000? Ideally, at least $15,000, right? So that's like the where you can get in the door, which means, and at least two of those credit cards that you have are those at least $3,000 in limit or more, right? At least 5,000. So this is really important because the banks are going to use this as a comparable, right, for your business credit when you get these business credit approvals, right? Now, I'm going to jump into this like to say why this is so important. What's up, LA, and what's up, MD? So why this is so important, right? Because you'll hear a lot about leveraging business credit, right? Where it's like, okay, I'm not going to be using my personal information. I'm not going to use my personal guarantee or like no PG funding. I'm going to use my EIN only. I'm set up an LLC and I'm going to get funding on that LLC, right? So this is cool. However, the way that people typically go about that is you start and you're purchasing these net 30 accounts and things like that where you can add these profiles to your business credit score, right? Your business credit profile, and you're adding these trade lines to it, and you do a little by little and you build up this first tier, you go to the next tier and things like that, and then 90 days from now you can kind of start getting in and you're getting a store card, from JC Penney or something like that, or from Best Buy. Isley of Musamans, what's up? From Best Buy and things like that, right? So that is all well and good. However, when you go about it this way, right, what happens is we're leveraging our personal credit profile to get in the door, right? And we're starting off with a bang by getting these high limit products, right? And so these credit cards that we're going to be stacking on the business side that are at 0% interest for 6 to 18 months, right? Depending on the product that we use. But these amounts are going to be 10,000, 15,000, 25,000, 40,000, 50,000, right? And what that does is that, as what's going on, Hollis, and thank you for the gift. Definitely appreciate it. So all these things are going to be on your business credit report. And instead of starting with these net 30, like, okay, I got a Uline account for $1,000 limit, right? And then I got a Granger account for another $1,000 limit for net 30. And then I buy these products and things like that. Instead of starting that way, I'm starting off on my credit profile with 25,000, a $25,000 line that's on there, a $50,000, a $30,000, a $10,000, a $15,000, right? So what does that do is that's change the conversation with the comparables for business credit, right? So in the future, right, this is the best way to start, because in the future, now I can go and say, okay, if I want to establish credit that's going to stand on its own and not require my personal information, my personal guarantee or anything like that at all, then this is still the best way to start, right? Because I leverage my personal profile to get in the door and get these high limit products, and these are the financial trades that are showing up on my business credit report, right? And then after that, now I can go back if I want to add some of these other, trade line sources and things like that. Once I do that and I get my Granger and I get my Quill, they're going to look at my report and see 15,000, 20,000, 50,000, and they're going to give me higher limits on that. So now this is improving everything across the board. and I'm setting myself up for the no PG funding in the future, right? Or I'm setting myself up for later down the road, like when I'm ready to get larger lines of credit and big loans and things like that. Some of these things that, I might want to be only on my business. But the thing is, it's always going to be related to your personal credit profile, right? In one way or another. So some products are going to be a PG where you have to personally guarantee it, right? So and what this is this only impacts you if something goes horribly wrong, right? And you just disappear off the earth. You stop paying. You're not paying for 90 days. Disappear off the earth. That's the only time where it would start to impact you personally, right? Now, that's worth it to me in the beginning if I can access with no documentation to be able to access 100K, 150K that I can use towards, you name it, right? Purchases, hires, real estate down payments, virtual assistants, mentorships, vehicles, well, you name it. I can use it towards that, right? And there's ways to just pay directly, or there's ways to liquidate off of these cards to get cash to be able to use for whatever you want. And one quick example is, we help with SBA loans as well, right? So if you're getting an SBA loan and you want to take over a business, right? And typically that SBA might be from 150,000 all the way up to $5 million that we can help line you up with, right? And typically that's going to require a down payment of 10% or 10 to 20%, right? So what does that look like is, let's say that the business costs $1 million, right? And the SBA is gonna line me up with that, $1 million for that, and then my business credit can potentially cover the down payment of the $100,000, right? So I need $100,000 down payment. I can technically liquidate that amount into my account, right? And use that amount to be able to pay the down payment for the SBA loan. And that's what I'm saying is we can line up all of that together, right? And again, this is why this is such a powerful way to start. Apolline, what's up? What's up, man? This is a powerful way to start, right? Because it sets up so many other things and opens up so many doors, and you can get into it, right? You can get into it like right now, right? So so send requests. Apolline, I wish I knew how to do that. I'm on the computer, bro. So I'll have to loop back around to you next time. Unless you know how to add me in. But it's good to see you, man. Like we can map something out together, right? So yeah, so this is such a powerful thing to start off with, again, because it removes all of the red tape, right? And all the excuses that you say, okay, I can't qualify for this, or I need to be in business for, this for 2 to 3 years, or I need to have a proven track record, or all this different stuff. You don't need any of that to get to this first 100K, this first 120K, 150K, right? To be able to get straight into it. You don't need any of that, right? And that now removes all the excuses and opens the door wide open, right? So again, I want you to put your questions in the chat. Put your questions in the chat if you have any questions. And the best thing that I can tell you to do is to get a free consultation booked for yourself, right? A free consultation call where they're going to walk through your exact steps. And this is I would say it's very complex because every person's situation is different, right? So your personal credit profile, like your goals, like how much you want, the state that you're in, the banks that you currently bank with, the different opportunities. There's so many different products that we can connect you with. But it's a very fine-tuned thing, right? So it's very personalized. So that's why I suggest you're going to walk away with value, like no matter what, as far as opening the eyes on, okay, what is my next step exactly to be able to qualify for this, right? So let's continue to go on. Again, put your questions in the chat. And so we talked about the credit cards, and we need these comparables on your credit card. So if you have that, if you got a few credit cards that are above 3,000, above 5,000, above 10,000, and your overall limits are at least 10 to 15,000, right? Ideally 30,000, maybe all the way up to 100,000, then you are a good amount of the ways. And I would say, for more than likely, you are ready to jump into this. All right. So if that is you, and you at least have that point, I want you to put a 1 in the chat, right? Because you've got a good foot. Now, if that's not you, I want you to put a 2 in the chat, right? Say, Kyle, I don't have credit cards that are above $3,000 or above $5,000 or $10,000. I don't even have any credit cards, right? Now, here's where this education is going to help you to be able to say, okay, I'm ready to start now to start building that up, right? Okay, Roni. Or Ronnie, let me know. So yeah, so that's not a problem, right? You're ready to start building that up, right? But let me explain to you, Ronnie, how you can leverage this information that I'm sharing with you now, right? To be able to take advantage of this, even if your credit isn't there, right? So number one, you can start to work on building your credit, and the team can help you with that as well, right? So that's the powerful thing is whether that's issues in your credit or where you don't or whether you don't have enough credit, we can help with both of those, right? So and are you saying 766? Is that your credit score? Right. Let me know. Let me know. So again, we talked about credit score being an indicator of something, but if you don't have the right things in your profile, which is exactly what we're going to go through, and this is like why this conversation is so important, right? Especially for you, Ronnie. Why this is so important, right? Because even if you have a 766 credit score, but if you only have credit cards, you could have credit limits of like $500, $1,000, like total, but you managed it really well. You never had any late payments. You did a good job with it. So you might have a good credit score just based on that, but it's not enough for the banks to latch onto, and it's not what they want to see. Right. So you might have to be able to build that up or increase that to the point to these factors. Let me just run straight through it just so you know, and you can just write these down. Okay. So I'm going to run through them. So we said you need at least 2 credit cards, right? Of a $3,000 limit or higher. And then your overall credit card limits will be at least $10,000 to $15,000, right? And ideally 30,000. That's bullet point number 1. Number 2, your utilization needs to be below 30%, right? Ideally below 10% across all of your totals, as well as each individual card. That's number 2. If you're listening, I want you to be saying check mark if you have it. And if not, I want you to write this down because I'm going to tell you how you can leverage this right now, even if you're not qualified or not ready for this yet, right? So that's the utilization is number 2. Number 3 is your inquiries. Ideally need to be up to only 3 per bureau. So 0 to 3 per bureau, right? So again, write that down. Number 3. And this is ideally if you have 0 in the last 6 months, then even better, because anything older than 6 months is going to have a little bit less of an impact on the funding approvals than anything more recent than 6 months. That was number 3. Number 4, you need to have at least 10 accounts reporting to your credit report, right? At least 10 primary accounts reporting to your credit report. And that primary just meaning this account is in your name, right? Accounts in your name. And this is across the board. Mortgages, auto loans, student loans, everything, right? Credit cards, store cards. Do you have at least 10 of those, or 7 to 10 on your report, right? Number 5 is your average age on your credit needs to be ideally 4 years or more, right? If you have 2 years or more average age on your credit, then you can squeeze in the door. But ideally it's 4 years or more, right? And this is an average age of all your accounts. Now, number 6 is kind of a joint one where we want no negatives, no late payments, no collections, no charge-offs, and no bankruptcy, right? Totally clean, except for one caveat is if you have late payments that are older than 2 years, then you can still get in the door, right? Now, I know I said that quickly. I'm going to go back over it. And I want to answer your questions, right? So please put your questions in the chat. If you're watching here and you're getting any value from this, I want you to hit the like button, consider sending a gift in. And I want you to share this with somebody, because again, what I just gave you, and we're going to go back over it. What I just gave you is literally the foundation. If you have that, then you are 30 days away from 100K, from 120K, from 80K, 150K, 0% interest, no documentation required to be able to use for 12 to 18 months at 0% interest. And then you can start to cycle that around every 6 to 12 months, right? Incredibly powerful. Now, all right, if you're still with me, let me know. I don't know how you're going to tell me this. Is it Roni or Ronnie? All right. Let me know how you're going to tell me this. Right. But how can you leverage this even if you are not qualified according to what I just said? Right. If you're interested in that as well, Roni, let me know if you're interested in that as well. Right. I want you to put credit in the chat. Right. Put credit in the chat. If you feel like, okay, I'm not ready for that. Kyle, what do I do right now? Right. If you are ready, I want you to put ready in the chat, meaning all those things that I just said, that's you. Check mark. I'm good to go. right? So credit. So let's talk credit. Okay. So number one, like I said, I would suggest that you book a call with the team to start today to improve your credit situation, right? Because a lot of our clients that have issues with credit are seeing results in the first 90 days, right? There's never any guarantees in credit repair and things like that. But a lot of our clients are seeing results in the first 90 days, even if you have negatives and things like that. Now, if utilization is your only issue, then that's another thing that we can deal with. Now, if you, like I said, if for Ronnie, if you don't have credit cards and you need to start, getting some high limit cards and things like that, it might be a longer while because those cards need to season for a while, right? So let's talk about what can you do, right? So here we are. So now, once you know this blueprint and you took notes on what I just said, those 6 or 7 points that I just said, that is like literally the sauce that you need to move forward, right? If you know that, then you can leverage what's called a credit partner, right? And what is a credit partner? Is there somebody else that is sitting on this profile, right? They have this profile, and you can have them get funded on either their own LLC, or you add them to your operating agreement on your LLC or your entity, right? And then now you use those funds to do the business. And what does that mean? If you have that person, if we just start thinking outside of the box just a little bit and saying, thinking outside of ourselves, like, I have to do everything, you don't have to do everything, right? If you can partner with that person, that means you are still 30 days away from accessing 100K, 120K, 150K to be able to leverage for business, right? So I hope that is eye-opening. I hope that's powerful for some people that are listening to say, okay, now the task would be, okay, I'm going to start working on my personal credit. I'm going to start working on it, and I'm going to do it with the team. Kyle said do it with the team, so I'm gonna do that, right? And I'm gonna, because I want to set myself up, and I know that I'm gonna be thanking myself later, because if it took 6 months, even if I have no credit now, or if it took a year, right? Even if I have no credit, and I can still leverage these strategies now, but a year from now I could do it under myself, and now I can be funded 100K, 120K, 150K in the first 30 days, and then repeating that over and over, then that would be a good thing, right? Tell me that would not be a good thing, right? But while you work and while you wait, we can now start to leverage this now, right? So what's the other way that you can leverage this now, right now? If you know that profile, now that you know it, right, you can't unlearn it, or once you can't unhear it. Once you know that, you know exactly who is positioned to be getting funded. You could be making referrals to other people right now and making money right now along the way, while you build your credit and while you work on your partnerships, right? Mr. October, thanks for the gift. Appreciate you. You guys, please share this live out. At the more gifts you can give, the more people will know about it, and just hit the like button so that this the algorithm will know that this is good information being shared. So I definitely appreciate you, right? So again, this is so powerful, because it puts the power in your hands regardless of where you're at. And again, a lot of times this feels like, okay, I can't do anything because I'm stuck, you know what I mean, or my credit has me stuck, or I'm telling you, if you take action, you don't have to be stuck, like, regardless of which way you go, right? So what does that look like? Affiliate. If you refer, I literally just paid somebody not too long ago, that somebody sent me a referral. The person that sent it, she was pregnant, like any day now, pregnant, and not thinking about any of this stuff. She sent me a person. We got that person funded, and I sent her $2,252, right, on PayPal. I sent that to her. That's probably the easiest money that she made. She just sent the name, right? And then 30 days later, I was sending her $2,252. Now, what if she were to do that once a month? Would $2,200 to $2,500 a month help you at all? What if she did it twice a month? What about 4 or 5 times if she put a little effort into it? And when I say do it, I mean, like, okay, well, who's another person that might be a good fit for this? Right? So again, it's a very, very powerful thing to be able to jump on, again, for your own self. I already explained how this sets you up in the future for other business credit opportunities and business loans and things like that, because it sets your business credit profile up in such a significant way to begin with. and it removes all the red tape that you can start now without having to have any of these, like I said, bank statements and tax returns and all that stuff. You can start like now, just with the right strategy. Again, that's the benefit, and the bonus is this has to be linked up with the right strategy, right? So this is the profile that you're going to need to be able to move forward, right? So I hope that's helpful for somebody. So Ronnie, tell me, so are we still tracking? Let me know if this is helpful for you. So just give me a sign in the chat, put a one or something, and let me know if this is good, right? So let's keep going. All right, so we talked about ways you can leverage it, right? So, and again, start today. So I still suggest that you get on a call with the team, even if your credit is not good, because now, again, the way that this is going to help is when you're under the consultation, then you're going to make the moves that are going to be the most impactful for you to be ready for funding. Instead of saying, okay, well, I hear you, Kyle, I'm going to start figuring it out myself, which is still a better move than nothing. But you can remove all the bumps and bruises. You can remove all the guesswork by saying, okay, well, what exactly do I need to remove from my profile? And what exactly do I need to add into it? And what are some places that I can get that to be able to make it straightforward, so I don't have to, again, I don't have to guess. So even if I do, take a 6 months or a year to season my cards and things like that, and build up my history, and maybe I'm adding these different counts and things like that, then at least I know I'm going about it with the proper instruction, right? So that's the best thing I can say. Again, go to fundingmyfuture.net or hit the link in my bio to be able to book a free consultation call for yourself, or you can text me and I'll send you the link directly, right? I'll do it tonight before I go to sleep. You can text me at 240 240 640 2. 240 240 642. JPS, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. And it's good to see you on again. Again, speaking of being thankful, just grateful to be alive. I spent the day with my daughter and my wife. The rest of my family is on a cruise. And so it was a little bit different with us here, but I realized, shoot, I'm blessed. You know what I mean? Blessed to be able to spend this day with my immediate family and spend time with my daughter, and to be able to be here to share this information with you, right? JPS, yeah. What better way, to be able to spend with family. And listen, you can either count blessings or you can count negative things, right? It's all available to us. And if we look at the positive stuff, then we will be overwhelmed with how much we actually have, despite our position or whatever we've lost and things like that. But so I definitely appreciate that. And like I said, I appreciate this opportunity to be able to be here tonight to share this information with you, because again, it is so powerful. And I believe that it's a massive stepping stone, right? Massive stepping stone to be able to fast track whatever our financial freedom, just our freedom of purpose, freedom of location, like whatever that is for you. I think this is one of the best ways to be able to fast track that, right? Because you can leverage this into all sorts of things. And I want to go into the steps again, and JPS said, by God's grace, we can make things happen 100%. 1000%, right? Mr. October said, I just got my credit completely wiped. Yep. So you got your credit wiped. That's good, right? So are you in the position you have to build up again, right? Because it's like nothing on there. Then now's the time to build up. But just like I told Ronnie, right? You have ways that you can leverage it while you build, that you can leverage it now. Again, do you have the execution plan for how you are going to make the money on the new money that you get, right? So if you have that, and if you have the will to be able to execute on that, right? And you have the commitment and the drive, and say, okay, if somebody tells me something, I'm going to do it. Like, I'm not going to waste time and stuff like that. If that's you, then the money is not a problem, right? I'm telling you now, the money is not a problem, because you need to line up. Like, what's the plan? What are we doing? And ideally, I keep saying this, ideally, you have a mentor, a high level mentor that you can tap into to be able to give you not the plan, the steps, the network, the team, the tools, you know what I mean? The things to not do. Somebody can give you that whole blueprint on exactly how you're going to do this thing, regardless of what it is, whether that's you're going to buy a business that's already cash flowing, whether you're going to get into real estate, whether you're doing drop shipping, fulfilled by Amazon, whether you're doing trucking, whether you're a hair salon or barber, what or digital products and online content, whatever it is, affiliate marketing, whatever it is, there's somebody, right? Somebody that's going to be able to help you to say, okay, what is the best way to move things forward? So Mr. October says your credit is completely wiped. Any way to fast track? Yep. So again, so this is what I say. There are some ways to be able to improve things, right? Quickly. There are some accounts, for example, where you can backdate, right? So like some of these are basically like rent accounts. You can backdate the history and add age to your credit while adding a good solid account to your credit, right? And this is like, you can write these down if you want. Credit Sesame, right? Rental Karma. I think it's called Boom Rentals and things like that. But there's a couple of these platforms that you can use to be able to say, okay, I've been renting a place for a while, or even if I've just been staying, with a family member or something, and you can reasonably say that you have been, been there for a while, or have some sort of rent or something like that. You can backdate that amount a number of years and add that to your credit report, right? So even that alone, and if you want me to send you a list, like I said, send me rent report is Taylor. So if you want me to send you a list, text me or DM me, and I'll send you what I have if that's something that you're looking to build up, right? Again, 240, 642, right? 240, 642. You can text me and I'll send that. But even that alone could be a number of accounts, right? That you can add and also add history at the same time, right? Another thing is, there's certain secured cards and things like that. There's certain, if you haven't heard of the Navy Federal Pledge Loan, or there's a couple other ones that you can use a pledge loan, right? To sorry, I gotta remove somebody real quick. You can use a pledge loan to be able to get a solid account on your report that's also shows up as being paid down, 90% and things like that. And there's strategies. If you want me to break that down, I can. But there's different things you can do. And again, the best thing I can do, like I said, if you are tapped in with the team, then you're going to be getting the best advice for your situation and say, okay, what is the way that I can build up, as quickly as possible or as efficiently as possible, so that, I'll be set up for success, right? That's the best thing I can say. If you are going to navigate it that way, right, you don't have to worry about as much about fast tracking, Mr. October. You don't have to worry as much about fast tracking when you leverage these other strategies that I just told you about. I'm gonna potentially leverage a credit partner, right? Or I can just do affiliates for the time being to just build up cash flow and things like that. Because if I, one to two people, I'm already at 5,000 a month if I do that, right? While you work on that credit, and then you don't have to be so pressured about, okay, well, I have to find all these shortcuts and things like that. Again, I'm glad to share whichever ones, but sometimes you get into gray area that gets a little dicey, pretty quickly, and no judgment on anybody, but if you can do it in a way that's clean, then I would say let's just do it that way. You know what I mean? So so the other thing is, okay, once you add those accounts to your profile, right, then that's the best time to start applying for your first large limit credit cards, right? Because you need to build up your profile in a certain way so that when you go for these initial personal credit cards that are going to serve as your comparables for business credit later, right? Your foundation, then ideally you've tackled some credit unions and banks that are more favorable in the beginning, that can give you higher limits, right? And that can base that on like, okay, what do you have in your profile now? Because maybe you've got those 10 accounts, on your profile, and then you can apply for some personal cards. Again, like Navy Federal is one of them that is just known for, if you have a good relationship with them and other products with them and things like that. Like I said, you've done a pledge loan or two and different things. You can it's not far-fetched to get 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 from Navy Federal on a personal card. And if that is your first card, and you add, another one from this place and another one from this other bank, and now you've got your requirement, for, like I said, for the business funding, you've got your minimum requirement, and now you just need to let those cards season for a while. right? It just might take time to build that up. And then while you build that up, again, now we're able to execute on some of these other things. And sometimes we can execute on some personal funding. You can get large personal unsecured loans that you can use for different things, again, while you wait. So there's different things while you build. But like I said, the credit partner thing is a major gem that I don't want you to overlook, right? As far as like what can I do now to be able to move into this so that I don't have to feel like I'm stuck, right? So like while I wait, I can execute. All right. So let me know if that was helpful. Again, if you're getting any value from this at all, like I said, send a gift. That's the best way that you can let the algorithm know that this is good stuff, and show your appreciation. You can hit the like button. I appreciate you guys hitting the likes, and share this with somebody that needs to know this info. I do have to pause right now to say, I am all about win-wins and abundance, right? Wherever possible. I believe the world operates and can operate in abundance where everybody can win in some way. And one of the things that, this is part of the reason why I'm here tonight on Thanksgiving evening, sharing this info with you. But another thing that I want is for the next generation to be better off, right? And more equipped than we are, or than we were. And so for that reason, I have committed to donate and reinvest a portion of my profits to a fund that's going to be helping young entrepreneurs to get into business, into wealth creation, into financial literacy, into mentorships, into investments and things like that early on, and so that they know these tools and things like that. So if you're working with me in any capacity, then just know that that's a part of the equation, right? So let's keep going. Again, put your questions in the chat. Anything that you have that's like that is bothering you, or you feel like is holding you back from feeling like you're ready for funding. But we just went through the blueprint. I'm going to do it one more time before we switch over and talk about the business entity structure, right? Which is the other pillar. So we talked about the personal credit profile and then the business entity structure, right? So put your questions in the chat, but let's go through it one more time. So number one is your personal credit cards, right? The overall limits. This is the blanket way to look at it. Is your overall limits are they at least 10 to 15,000 across all your cards total, right? And then for individual cards, you have at least 2 cards that are $3,000 or more at the bare minimum, right? And when I talk about bare minimum versus ideal, some of these results can be various variations in limit approvals that you get when we go for the business credit cards. So again, on the low side, and this can vary on depending on who you're working with as well, but on the low side, this might look like a $3,000 business credit card, or $4,000 or $5,000, versus in some cases a $30,000 card, right? This is a real thing. So like $3,000 versus $30,000, or $9,000 approval versus a $50,000 approval, right? And those are real things that I've seen. So so you just want to know at least where you're at, and we want to be able to go for the max whenever possible, right? So I want to give you the ideal. So the first was the credit cards. Number 2 is your utilization needs to be under 30%, right? Ideally under 10%. The lower the better, right? Once it's over 30%, then we have problems because the banks are looking at that like you're over leveraged, right? So that's going to cause a problem. Now, if utilization is your only issue, right, and everything else is good. So, Sakawa, I don't have that many inquiries. I got more than 10 accounts. My average age of my accounts is over 4 years. I have no negatives, but my utilization is pretty high, and that's why my score is in the 600s, or my score is in the high 500s or something like that. And that's the only thing you have, then we can help with that, right? And if you want to know how we can deal with utilization without necessarily having to even have you pay anything extra or pay anything down, then I want somebody to put utilization in the chat, and I will break down exactly how that works. And I will loop back around to make sure that you understand that, right? So just drop that in the chat if somebody wants to know that. If you deal with a high utilization right now, and this happens to a lot of us, right? Where especially if you don't know this information and you are just running business, and you've been using your personal cards. Like I said, I ran a meeting for our real estate group recently. I see you, Taylor, with utilization. I'm gonna go through it. So I ran a meeting for a real estate group, And the guy was like, yeah, I just did my last project and it was all on personal cards and personal savings and all this stuff, which is what he had at the time. He didn't know any better. But because he was using that and it wasn't resolved yet, now his personal credit score is like super low, because now it's impacted that way, where he could have been leveraging business credit this whole time to do that, right? So let's talk utilization. All right, so this is like so simple, and it's just something that you don't know what you don't know, right? So if we have, let's say we have on our personal credit cards, we have $20,000 in business in personal credit balances, right? And we're using up like most all of our limit, right? Taylor, you said I'm freezing up. Let me know if it's even better, because I don't want you to miss this. I don't want you to miss this. Let me make sure my Wi-Fi didn't switch back or anything like that. So let me know if I'm back up. Let me know if I'm back up. Or somebody else tell me if you're hearing me clearly, and hopefully that's not just Taylor's issue, because I want to make sure you hear this part, because this is super critical, right? Tech me. Thanks for sharing the live. I definitely appreciate that. The more people that know about this, the better. So let's keep pushing this forward. But let me know if you guys can hear me, because I don't want I don't want this to go over anybody's head. If yep, you said that's why you're coming in and out. So somebody else besides Taylor, let me know if you can hear me, because before I drop the sauce, I want to make sure it's not me and my connection that's causing the issue. All right, so let me know. Somebody, can you hear me? Because we're about to talk about the inside information and the hack on how you can access and deal with utilization potentially without even having to pay anything down or change your budget or change anything. How can we deal with utilization, right? Terrence, what's up? What's up, man? Good to see you. And I see you on there. So you said clear. So you said utilization. You want to know about it, and we said we're clear. All right, so we're good on that. Okay, Taylor, we're better. Terrence is good. So let's talk. Let's talk, right? So how do you deal with utilization? Right now, the way that this credit score works, right? This is just kind of just basic foundation. The way that this credit score works, and what's going on, Hunter? The way this credit score works is a large chunk of your credit score is based on how much of your revolving debt that you have utilized, right? But the key word there is revolving debt. So this is only your credit cards, right? Revolving credit cards, what balances you have compared to your limits. What it doesn't include is any installment type debt, right? Which means direct loans, auto loans, personal loans and things like that. So what can we do is, if we've got that 20,000 on the personal side, right, that is using up all our utilization, for example, and we simply get a personal loan for $20,000, and then we pay off those credit cards down to zero. Now, what happened to our debt? We switched one thing for another thing. We had credit card debt, and now we have a personal loan for the same exact amount. So nothing changed. I didn't change my budget. I didn't come out of pocket or anything like that. I got this personal loan for $20,000, paid this down. Guess what happens? Immediately, and thank you for sharing the live, Jesse. Immediately, my credit score jumps through the roof, right? Because when I was 100% utilized or whatever it was, and now I'm at zero, now my credit score jumps up, right? Number two benefit is a side benefit, that the interest rate on a personal loan is typically going to be lower than what the credit cards are. So that's already going to be less payments, but that's not all, right? Now, if that was the only thing holding us back, and we have all the other checkpoints that I just shared with you about what your profile needs to look like, and that was the only thing holding us back, now we're ready to get business funding, right? So now we go and we can get 100,000, 120,000, 80,000, 150,000 in business credit at 0% interest, right? These accounts do not show up on your personal credit profile. So we can effectively then liquidate or balance transfer or do different things to be able to use this new 0% business credit to pay off the personal loan that we just got. So now guess what? Now this 20,000 has disappeared from our personal report completely. Our credit score is still high and strong, which we can leverage into other things just in our normal life, right? And everything you're just going to be gaining cash flow across the board, because you're going to be paying less interest on anything that you do when your credit score is high and your profile is strong, right? Just period. But what we've done is we've moved from a 25% interest, 29% interest on the credit cards, all the way over to 0% interest, right? So Taylor says most merchants will not give you a loan with high utilization. Unless you know the ones that do. Right? So that's the whole point. Again, that's the reason, Taylor, for working with the team, right? Is because we're helping people with this type of stuff often, like we know which ones can work depending on where your utilization is at, right? Now this is not like if you have like $150,000 in personal credit card debt, then that might be a little tricky, to be honest, right? But depending on how much you have, I would say up to 50,000 is the cake. Like definitely we can take care of that. But there's different ways to go about it to be able to get a personal loan product. Again, like however you can get this off. If you have a rich uncle that has the $20,000 and you say, hey, I just need this for 45 days, you know what I mean? Because once I get this, I'm going to get lined up with business credit and I can pay this back. Cool, right? If you have that, right? Zeke says knowledge is power and lines of credit. Yes, 1000%. This is exactly why I'm sharing this with you guys, because this is like so powerful to know. And it's such a small tweak. Like that's so crazy. You're telling me that it's like just because it's in one debt vehicle, this is could completely open the door to me accessing $100,000, $150,000 at 0% interest with no documents required. Like that was the one thing that was holding it back. Like I just needed and these personal loans, and sometimes those can be approved sometimes in 48 hours, 24 hours, and the money's in the account, pay down that, and you could be off to the races, right? As soon as it reports, right? So it is important to know when your credit card statements hit, so that you know like when things need to be paid down, so you can do it at the right time, right? But again, this is super powerful. I hope this is not going over your head, right? Because like I said, Taylor, just one more time, because we're helping people with this often, we know which ones can work or which angles can work. You know what I mean? Or which different types. And there's a lot of different lenders and things like that we're connected with, so that we can do this again, especially if this is the only thing holding you back, because we want to help people to get funded, right? So if this is the only thing that we can tap in with it, right? So if you're getting any value from this at all, like I said, I paid a lot of money, you guys, for this information, and I want to share it with you for you guys that are tapped in here. And those that, thanks you guys so much for giving the gifts. Zeke, I appreciate the gift, and for sharing this live and hitting the likes. But I definitely appreciate it, right? So if you are getting value from it, I want you to share it. But I also want you to make sure, and thank you so much, TechMe, for that rose gift. Thank you, appreciate that. Daryl, thanks for the gift. And again, you guys, the more of these that you give, that tells the algorithm that this is good stuff, and it just helps across the board, right? So thank you guys so much. What I want you to do is I want you to book a consultation call with the team, right? A free consultation, so you can look at this. Where am I in this journey? And what is my next step? What do I need to do? Right? Do I need to do something with my credit? Do I need to do something to improve my credit? Do I need to, get things going? Zeke says, let's tap it up 2K likes. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. You guys, let's tap in. The pun intended, right? 2,000 likes. Let's see how quick we can do it. Yep. So you said 240, 642. Yep. That's it, Taylor. You can text me, right? Text me and I will send you the direct link to get a call booked, right? Get your information together and you can get a free consultation call booked for yourself, right? That's going to be the fastest way. Or you can go to fundingmyfuture.net, right? Or you can hit the link in my bio. Like I said, if you text me, I'll send it right to you, and just text me your name too, just so I know who I'm dealing with, right? So let's continue to go through again. I hope this is helpful for you to at least open your mind to the possibility that this opens the doorway, right? It removes the red tape, because what else is blocking you from doing this? Again, this is a formula. This is why this is so powerful. It is a formula. Once you have the elements of the formula, then you can get the result, right? There's no other block. If you are a US citizen, there's no other block really that can stop you from it. One way or another, we can get you access to it if you're tapped in that way. And I literally just gave you the blueprint, the check marks, like what you need to be able to get there. And where are we at? So we're at 800 likes. I appreciate it. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. The goal is 2K. So let's see how quickly we can get there. And thank you guys so much. Right. So let's keep going. Right. So we looked at the personal profile, right? And we know now that we can leverage this personal profile, the knowledge of this, right, to either start to do it ourselves, or we're sitting on it right now and we just need to literally be moving forward and finding out how we can get access to the funding, or we need to be tapping into someone else, a credit partner that has this profile and that we can link up with. And then now we just get that person funded on their LLC. And now we got the money together to be able to use it. Or we're doing affiliate referrals and say, okay, if I have anybody in mind that I think might be a good fit for this, right? And I can, and now I know which questions to ask, or now I know if I can just kind of pre-qualify a little bit, say, okay, well, how many cards, like, what's your overall limit? Do you have any inquiries, or what's your utilization? What's the average age? If you know those things just in the back of your head, then that could be an extra, again, before Christmas, that could be an extra $2,500 for you, an extra $2,200, $2,000. Again, if you do more than one, that stacks up very quickly. Like I said, so there's lots of ways to be able to leverage this. And like I said, the time is going to go by quickly. So don't get intimidated if you have to build from scratch, and if it is going to take a year, right? Because somebody tell me I'm lying, that I blinked and it was January 27 of 2025, right? Tell me I'm lying that this year did not fly by. We're almost in December. This is going to be the same thing next year. You're going to be like, oh, 2026 is going to be the same thing, that it flew by. And you will be thanking yourself if you started today. And if we're talking about Thanksgiving of 2026, and now you're set up to go into the next phase with 100K, 150K that you can tap, so that's super powerful. So Wolf King, what's going on? So you said that won't affect my personal credit. Will not affect your personal credit. Right now, here's the way that it will affect it. Right. So I'm just gonna break this down very clearly. Right. So this business credit stacking approach, right? These accounts do not show up on your personal credit. And let me just give you a quick example. Right. Like I said, between myself and my wife, and over the past, it was like probably a 2-year period, and I was studying about this stuff, working with different companies. I was just getting into entrepreneurship, right? And between the two of us, we got over 500,000 to be able to access to, and leverage towards real estate, towards investment, towards mentorships. I've been in the room with like high level people, like all sorts of stuff. It's changed my life, right? And I have through the course of that, and in real estate investments and different, approaches and things I've taken, some things have gone very well and some things have gone not well, right? So there are balances on these business credit cards, right? Oh, Zeke, you said we got it. 2K. Look at that. Let's go. 2,000 likes. I appreciate y'all. Let's keep it going. Again, if this is valuable for you, please share this now, because these gems, like, somebody could really tap into this now and it could change their life literally, right? Or at least it change the trajectory. Zeke, appreciate you. So please share this. If you got a gift you can give, that'll help too, right? So we're talking about this, like how you can best leverage this, right? And what we're going to need. And I think I want to go through to the next point, but we're talking about this won't affect my personal credit, right? So I was saying that certain things have gone well, certain things have gone not well. So I got balances on these cards. However, on my personal credit right now, the last time I checked, it was literally 850 on the FICO, 847 on another bureau, right? It's like completely untouched, right? So these balances are active. As long as I'm paying, as long as I'm active on it, staying on top of it, it has no impact to my personal credit. This is one of the most powerful things, because you can do things, you can make moves without having to fluctuate your score. And again, when your score fluctuates, it could be worth it for you to use personal credit if that was the only thing you had access to, right? Because, okay, maybe my score goes down and I make some moves and I'm up and I make money, and then I pay everything off and my score goes back up. Cool. But the longer you're in there, you're getting harmed by interest rates. You're getting harmed by, lack of access to different things when you don't have that personal credit profile. So again, this is like, it's a triple impact, because when you do this, when you start this process and this commitment now to say, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do better, right? Your personal credit improves, changes your life, and your interest rates and your costs and things like that are all going to improve. You get access to business credit, to this 0% business credit, right? Up to the tune of 100,000, 120,000, 150,000 that you can then repeat every 6 to 12 months, right? Appreciate you, Zeke. Stay tapped in, right? You can repeat every 6 to 12 months, right? And then it also sets up your EIN only business credit profile, your business credit score, and those trade lines are going to be these high limit trade lines, because now we've got $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 lines on our business credit report, which sets up the best possibility for us to be able to get new funding that is not tied to our personal at all. So we're leveraging all of these, and this all kind of hinges around our personal credit profile, which I just broke down to you. Right. So let me know if this is helpful for you, Wolf King. Right. Let me know. So here's the thing. When we're doing these applications, this is the only impact to our personal credit initially. We're doing these applications for these business credit cards at 0% interest. Right. Each one that gets approved, or each one that we do, we're getting a hard inquiry on our personal credit profile, because they're looking at who is behind this. Right. And this is how we're able to leverage into these high limits, because they say, okay, if this person is this solid, then we don't care if this business is new. We know this person is solid, it's running it. So we're gonna give the 15,000, we're gonna give the 25,000, we're gonna give the 50,000. You know what I mean? So there's gonna be a hard inquiry on the personal credit, which has a slight impact to the credit score. However, you can write this down if you didn't know it, but any inquiries that are not tied to open active accounts on your personal credit profile, you technically have the ability to remove those inquiries from your profile. So what does that mean? We go and say we go in our funding sequence, say we go and we get 5 or 6 different banks in our round, and we got between 10 to 40,000 from those banks, right? And then that means we got 5 or 6 inquiries on our personal report. But right after that, again, like I said, none of these accounts show up as accounts on your personal credit report, even though the hard inquiry, they looked into our situation to approve us, but the account and the balance and the utilization does not show up there. The history does not show up there. So what can we do? We can go and wipe all of those inquiries off. Now we're back to 0 inquiries. And guess what? We can go back to either some of the same banks or some new institutions, some new credit unions, some new banks, to be able to get even more funding. And we can rinse and repeat that over and over and over. Right. So let me know, Wolf King, if that makes sense. Right. As far as what is the impact, it's a minimal impact to your personal credit initially, and then it ends up being 0 impact because we are wiping the inquiries off. Right. Please share this. Please share this with somebody, you guys. Please, please, please. Like I said, this is so such powerful information. And I just got to go into what are some ways that you can use this. Right. This is across the board. How long is it going to take you to save up $120,000? I don't know what kind of job do you have. I don't care how much beans and rice that you eat. How long is it going to take you to save up $80,000? And if you do save it up, that probably needs to be your emergency fund, right? So we're saying in the next 30 days, you potentially could be sitting on 100K, 120K. Madik, what's up? Good evening. So you said you would love to be helped with your credit score? Definitely. So we can help with that, right? And again, the credit score and the help that you get, what's one thing to get credit repair. It's another thing to get credit optimization towards funding. It's a totally different thing, right? Because, and this is what happened. Somebody just put this in the chat where they said, I think that was Mr. October, that said, I got my credit clean, like swept, right? Now, the company that did that, or whoever did that, and I'm not saying this is the Mr. October situation, but oftentimes, okay, I have a service where this is what I am going to deliver to you. Like, we're going to clean your credit. Your credit score is going to go up. But now you've wiped your credit clean and you have nothing on there. So what needs to be put in there in order to get access to funding. So some people are only focused on credit, which is a valuable thing to say, okay, I had these negative things on there and now they're gone. Cool. Right. But what needs to go in there to be ready for funding, and make sure you don't overshoot it too. Right. To say, okay, what exactly needs to go in there? I remember when I was building, I was learning about business credit and things like that. And I found out there were so many things I was doing that were not necessary because I was not operating under consultation and under mentorship. I was doing extra things because I heard this, and then I realized I only needed to be doing like 1/10 of the effort that I was doing to get to the result. Right. So again, what we're doing is we're saving time, right? Saving time, we're saving energy, and ultimately we're saving money. Right. So Wolf King says, a person in my position, I need to start a business because I'm very limited on the personal side. All right. So Wolf King, let me know what you mean by that. When you say very limited, as far as like your personal credit, you mean like your cash flow? Let me know what you mean. And then Mahdi says, also I started a nonprofit organization, but no funds to start. Okay. So yeah, so having a nonprofit is great, and you should probably explore the opportunities that are out there as far as, okay, are there grants I can leverage, or is there state funds you can look up, write down CDFI, right? Community Development Financial Institution, and look up local CDFIs and see, okay, there might be some things if you present your nonprofit in the right way. And again, this is not my area, but just based on my experience, you can use ChatGPT to be able to help to position like what you're doing in the best light, so that you can apply to different grants and things like that. CDFIs, like, get all the information, right, to help the nonprofit. However, like I said, if you start on what I'm telling you, to be able to position your personal credit, or to be able to be smart enough to leverage credit partners, right, that you can start today to be able to say, okay, well, what would it look like to have, I have this amount that I can use to leverage towards whatever purpose that I want, 100K, 120K, 150K, whatever that is. All right. So, and Rod, thanks for the follow. So you said, can you tell what does cash flow need to look like? All right. So here we go, Rod. And thanks for the gift, Rod. I appreciate that. All right. So, and Wolf King, let me know clarify what you mean when you say you're limited on the personal side, and then we can talk that through. So Rod, so you say, what does cash flow need to look like? Now, with this program, right, with this approach, this method that I'm telling you, we don't need any cash flow. Is that eye-opening for somebody? Is that freeing to say, like, okay, I don't have to have any revenue because these are no document programs, which means I don't have to show proof of revenue. I don't have to show my tax returns, a business plan, a personal financial statement. I don't have to show any of that. If I have these pillars in place, then I can get access to it, period. Right? It's just the way it works. And like I said, it's just something you have to know that exists, and you have to be able to leverage it and take advantage of it. Right? Now, Rod, the next point is, if you do have cash flow, then you can leverage that into certain types of funding, right? Maybe outside of this 0% stacking strategy that I'm telling you about, right? So again, our team, we can help across the board with all of that. Whatever it is that you need, we can help with that. So this is all the way from if you need unsecured loans, if you need lines of credit, business lines of credit, if you need an SBA loan, if you need equipment financing, if you need a hard money loan for real estate, we can help with all of that, but that's going to depend on your situation. And all of those other things are typically going to take some extra documentation, or you're going to need 1 to 2 years in business. You're going to need some tax returns. You're going to need those bank statements and things like that. And to answer your question directly, Rod, is, in that case, do you have at least $10,000 a month of revenue that's running through your business, and you can show that in bank statements for the last 6 months, right, at minimum? If you got 20, 50, then great. So if you have that, then that puts you in a different category, and you might be able to apply, in addition to leveraging this 0%, you could also apply for some other products, right? Lines of credit and things like that. And again, the team can look at your situation specifically to help you with that, right? That's why I say this consultation is so powerful, right? it's so powerful because you can get help with all of that, and it looks at your situation and your goals to be able to match you up, right? So again, I suggest that you go to fundingmyfuture.net, right? Or click the link in my bio, or you can text me at 240 240 642. 240 240 642. Text me and I will send you the direct link to get a call booked to look at your situation and say, okay, what is my next step going to be? Is my next step something with my credit that needs to be adjusted, right? Improved or changed or removed? Or is my credit solid and I'm just ready to talk about what are the best funding solutions for my situation and for my goals? All right, that's the best thing I can say. So Rod, let me know if that's helpful or if you have any other questions on that. So Wolf King says, I'm disabled, don't have a lot of cash, and can't save a lot of money because of limitations. So Wolf King, the first thing I will say, Wolf King, is you have to open up your mind to like almost like affirmation style to say, okay, the abundance is there for me, right? And I don't want to take it here too soon, but it's a real thing. The way you speak, right? Because if you're on here and you can type, that means you got the world in your hands, because you got ChatGPT, you got the internet, that means you have access to people, you can do it all, right? Just because the fact that you're here proves that to me, right? So though you want to eliminate that talk from your language to say, okay, I do have access to it, right? I just don't have it yet, right? Because I don't have to necessarily do the physical work. This is the age that we're in. If you approach it in the right way, I don't have to be doing the physical work, right? I don't have to be doing the I just see Sherry. Thank you so much for sharing the live. And Wolf King, appreciate the gift. Rob, appreciate the gifts. Appreciate you guys. All right. So you guys, forgive me for pivoting on this for a second, but this is really important for Wolf King, but for all of us. The language that you use is going to determine heavily the results that you get. What you see is literally what you get in life, right? So if we are saying that we don't have the access, we don't have, and we can't, then guess what? It's not going to be. And regardless of whether you are religious or not, this is the thing comes to mind, is that the Bible story goes that Jesus was at the pool, and there's a guy sitting there on the side, and he's been there for 40 years because he said, I can't, there's nobody that can help me to be able to get healed. Basically, there's nobody to help me. And Jesus says, do you want to get well? Right? That's the first question. Do you want to get well? And if that answer is yes, then you can. If that answer is no, because you think you can't, that's the limitation, right? So I'm not going to go any further with that. But I will say, as a point of encouragement, right, to say that it's out there for you. Like I said, ChatGPT, you got people who can leverage things, and we just talked about credit partners, right? So even if your credit is not there right now, you can access it if you have the will and the desire to be able to execute and find a way to make it work, right? So let me know if we're still friends, Wolf King, after that, because it's all love for sure. Right? But yep. So we already talked about how to get the consultation, right? Daryl Jones said help with line of credit on a house with no mortgage, right? Okay. Yep. So we can help with that too, Daryl. Yep, we can help with that too. And again, that's going to be your personal situation, and that consultation process. Again, this is like why this is so important. Like I said, fundingmyfuture.net, book a call with the team, or 240-240-642, text me, and I'll send you the link, because we can help. If you have assets, then we can leverage that into lines of credit and into different funding. So you're bringing something to the table. Either you're bringing cash flow, either you're bringing your credit profile, or you're bringing collateral. Those are the 3 C's: cash flow, right? Credit profile, or collateral. So if you have real estate properties, if you have stock portfolio, if you got life insurance, if you got, we can leverage those things into different funding products, and you can use those to be able to do, all sorts of stuff, right? But like I said, one of the most powerful ways to get into it is leveraging that credit profile, because it opens up so many of the other doors. But Daryl, I would suggest that you get on a call with a team to talk about that. But yes, We can't do that. Bentley Ben, good evening. You said up to how much? When you say up to how much, for C Corporation in Wyoming, right? Um, let me know what you mean, Bentley Ben, when you say up to how much, right? Because this depends on what we're talking about. So for the 0%, for what with who we're working with, like I said, I've seen there's other companies and things where I've seen drastically different results. However, if you follow the blueprint that I shared, you'll be set up with whoever you go with, right? Like you'll be in the best position with whoever you go with. But I'm talking about 100K, 150K, 120K is not far-fetched for the first initial round. And then we can go back and duplicate that every 6 to 12 months, right? On average. If you want to go further than that, then there's ways we can go deeper. But if we're talking about the lines of credit, talking about the term loans and the SBA loan is like from 150,000 or 50,000 up to 5 million or 5.5 million if you're doing it for a commercial project. So let me know what you mean as far as up to how much. All right. So Wolf King said, you can do it, but you have other roadblocks. Government only lets me do so much or cut your check. And Wolf King, this is why we got to start getting access to this information and start executing, because now we take the power out of everyone else's hands and we can start doing stuff, right? Because once you start working on business in the way that you need to, or working on investment in the way that you need to, now it doesn't matter. Now the government check is only a bonus, only an extra, right? So like I said, I won't dig into that too much, but I just want to encourage you that the only way that it is going to work is if you start speaking like it is going to work. Right. That's the starting point. Right. So again, if you guys are getting any value from this at all, I want you to make sure that you share this with somebody. If you can send a gift, send a gift. Bentley Ben, like I said, let me know if you can clarify what you meant by that, up to how much, right? You said you got a C corporation in Wyoming. That Wyoming strategy is a solid one if you want that, privacy protection and things like that. It's not required in order to access this, but if that's something you're up on, then all the better, right? So let's go in through. I'm going to dip over to the entity, the business entity structure real quick. We talked about the personal credit profile. I'm going to say it one more time, just for those in the back, right? These are the exact things that you need to know. These are the exact things that the bank is going to be looking for, which means that either you are set up to access this, or somebody that in the form of a credit partner, or as an affiliate referral, right? So all of these. So here are the checkpoints. Number one is you need to have credit cards in your name, right? And your limits ideally are at least $10,000 to $15,000 across all your cards, the overall limit. And on individual cards, ideally you have at least 2 cards that have a $3,000 limit, right? Or more. Ideally $10,000, $15,000 or more. That's one big one. Number 2 is your utilization. It needs to be under 30%, ideally under 10%. And we just talked about the hack for utilization, that you can potentially shift the whole conversation, in very short order without even have to come out of pocket or pay things down. We talked about that hack. If you have the capacity to pay things down, then great. But there are ways. If that's the only thing blocking you, we can do that. Somebody wants me to break down utilization again, then let me know. Put utilization in the chat. I will do it one more time. All right. But so we talked about credit cards, the utilization. Your increase needs to be 0 to 3, and ideally 0 in the last 6 months. So if you're thinking about any sort of funding or anything like that, pump the brakes on applying for different things and getting different inquiries and getting different accounts, because that can kind of delay things with the funding sequence. I would suggest that you get the consultation right now, so that you can know, okay, what's the best way for me to move forward? Because I'm thinking about applying for this thing. You just want to be mindful of that, right? So increase in new accounts. Billy Ben says, up to how much in funding? And is this the personal credit or business credit? I have C Corps based in Wyoming. This is business credit, right? So we can help. We help clients sometimes with personal funding, but really is business credit is what I'm talking about. This whole strategy is a 0% interest credit stacking, right? Is the main pillar that I said that is one of the most powerful things you can access, because you can access it quickly and you can potentially depending on how it's set up, depending on some other factors, you can potentially use your corporations to be able to leverage this into this 100,000, 150,000, 120,000 in credit card stacking, right? And again, this is going to be a variation. We're going to be multiple banks that have 0% interest products, and it's going to be approvals either from 10,000 to 15 to 20 to 25 to 30 to 40 to 50 per card, and those are going to be stacking up into a total, right? And again, all of those accounts, the ones that we go after, all of those accounts are, none of them are going to report to your personal credit. So you're able to leverage it on that side. And again, Bentley Ben, with your situation, when you get the consultation, and if you're working with the team, then you're going to be getting advice about how else can you be leveraging those. Is there other types of loans and things that you want to go after, or are you trying to do an SBA so you can buy a business, or there's other things that you can do, right? So that's why I say the consultation is going to be the best move, right? Fundingmyfuture.net, hit the little button. It takes 90 seconds, max, to fill out the little form, and then get choose a time slot for your book call. And you're either going to be meeting with somebody to talk about your credit, or you're going to be meeting with somebody to say, okay, your credit's clean, and we're just talking about what's the best way to get you funded, right? And in the meantime, any questions, you can text me, reach out to me. Like I said, 240-642, and I can send you the direct link, or if you got questions, you can DM me or anything like that, right? So let me know if that's helpful. Again, if you're tapped in here, if you're getting any value at all from this, I want to make sure that you share this with somebody. Giovanni, appreciate you sharing it, and good evening to you. Share this with somebody. Hit the like button. Send a gift if you got it. And let the algorithm know that this is good information. Like I said, this is it's so powerful, and this is why I'm here on Thanksgiving night. Just sharing this because I want you to be as set up as possible and positioned to be able to pursue your your freedom, whatever that looks like. This is one of the strongest tools, I believe, to be able to tap into, to fuel your growth in your business, and the impact in the world, at the same time, right? So I'm gonna go through it. Like, please get your questions in. I'm gonna go through this LLC or entity structure, and the things that are important there, and then I'm gonna wrap it up for tonight. But please put your questions in the chat, and thank you guys so much. It's been a pleasure to be here with you this evening. So let's go through it. So we talked about that. The number of accounts on your profile needs to be at least 10, or 7 to 10 accounts total on your credit profile. Your average age needs to be above 4 years. And if you're above 2 years, then you can squeeze in the door, right? And then no negatives is the ideal. So no late payments, no collections, no charge-offs, no bankruptcy. Yep, Bentley Ben, no problem. No problem. Appreciate you. And thanks for the follow too. And the only caveat on the late payments is if you have late payments that are older than 2 years, then it has less impact on the funding approvals, right? So ideally it's all clean, but if they're older than 2 years, then we can still squeeze in the door. But again, the team is going to be able to guide you on all of that, right? So let's go through the LLC, the entity structure, right? LLC, corporation, whatever you got. Number one is going to be, your name needs to be something that is not high risk, not a high risk indication to the banks, right? And they're going to judge you based on your name. So some of us know about NAICS code, NAICS, where I'm submitting my business description based on the code. And this is like being filed with the IRS, or being filed with Dun & Bradstreet, or filed with whatever, the state, and different things like that. And the bank is going to, sometimes they will ignore what you have there officially, and they might just base it on what your name sounds like. So if your name indicates in any way some of the high risk industries, then that's either going to get you a denial, or it's going to get you some scrutiny that results in a much, much lower limit. And that's what you want to avoid. Now, what are the high risk industries? You can Google this and look up each bank and look up which industries that they consider high risk. Each bank deals differently, right? But there are some ways that we can just keep ourselves safe by keeping the name very generic and very centralized. What is that? A keyword, enterprises, a keyword and group, keyword and solutions, keyword and consulting, or tech, or something like that. Like something very boring and generic, right? That's the best way to go to make sure that you're safe. Now, what are the high risk industries? Like I said, you can look it up, but some of them are surprisingly real estate, right? So there's certain codes that you can get by with in real estate, but again, if your name indicates a certain thing, or if you go in and talk with the banker and they're asking you about things, and if you don't kind of keep it generic and general, then they might put you in that category. And again, that could be a denial, flat out denial at certain banks, or like a low limit approval, right? So trucking is another one that is typically high risk, like construction. Some of these are considered high risk, and things like adult entertainment or gambling, CBD and cannabis. There's certain things that are just like kind of automatic issues with the bank as far as risk goes, right? So your name needs to be solid, and that's one of the best ways to do it. Number two is your business address is really important. And your address, the main thing is that it needs to not look like a PO box. Banks do not like PO boxes because it screams like insecurity, right? And it screams like you're not going to be around for a while. It's not something solid. So they prefer something solid, right? And that ideally would be uh, a physical brick and mortar business address. Now, if you don't have that, traditionally we would say, okay, let's use a virtual address, right? And we pay for a virtual address service and we use that for our business filing. Cool, right? And that does work to a degree. However, a lot of banks are starting to look sideways at virtual addresses because it's effectively like a PO box. It's like, you don't run your business from here. We can't necessarily find you here. So, that becomes a problem. Now, what is the way that you can mitigate that? Right? Is you need to be able to look up based on your address that you're choosing, right? You need to be able to mitigate that in a certain way, and you need to look up whether the address is coding as a commercial mail receiving agency. This is a CMRA. How do you do that? Glad you asked, right? You're going to make sure that you go to the USPS site. You can Google USPS zip code lookup. You click that, and you're going to put in the name of the address that you have, and you're going to look up and see what it shows up as. It's going to give you some line items on that when you put the address in, right? So let's say you have an address that you're considering from iPostal 1 or from Opus or Regis or Alliance, whatever the case. When you put that address in there in the USPS, and you're going to see a line item for CMRA or Commercial Mail Receiving Agency, please write this down. If you see that it says a Y next to that, right? Bentley Ben, I'm gonna get to that. If you see that it says a Y next to that, or yes, then that's an immediate problem, right? And the lenders do check this periodically with the USPS to check like what is your address looking at, and they have computer systems to do that too. So if you can just keep it clean that way, then that's an address that you want to avoid, and that's such a big nugget that I can share with you, is that you want to avoid any address that shows up as a CMRA if you're doing a virtual address at all. Now, a lot of our clients are actually getting funded with, surprisingly, a home address more so than virtual addresses. Why? Traditionally, people would say don't use a home address because it's not like legit enough for like big business. Because it's like, if you're doing business that big, then why is your address at your home? However, when we're talking about these 0% stacking method with the no document programs and things like that, all of that we can access by using a home address. So if I'm telling you that you can get 100,000 or 150,000 or 130,000 in the next 30 days potentially, and repeat that every 6 to 12 months, that's still very, very valuable. Even if, and this is what people are doing, even if you had a LLC that was just designated for funding purposes. So we can create a new LLC, right? And let's just say that LLC was using the home address, and we got the max funding on that particular LLC. And then you take the funds from that LLC, the access, and you fund your other business that's high risk, right? So we create something that is very generic and very low risk. We get the max funding on that, and then you can fund your other stuff. Super powerful, right? Thank you guys for the likes, right? And appreciate you sharing this information too, right? So that is super powerful, in a way that you can say, okay, I'm still doing the business that I do. I might even have a separate website. We're going to talk about website real soon. I might even have a separate website, right? That is geared towards what the banks want to see. And then I have another website that's like my client facing business. Like this is what I'm doing. So I can put whatever name, whatever industry, whatever, but I'm leveraging that as a strategy, as a dual strategy to get to what I need to. Right. So please, I hope that's not going over your head, like how important that is. So again, if you are going to use a virtual address, it still can work. It still does work. But again, depending on the banks, and the banks change things up day by day, right? So this could be different, but as far as right now, it still can work. But the one thing you do want to make sure is that it's not flagging and tagging as a CMRA, right? So what next is your you want to Google that address on Google Street View, because when you see it on Google Street View, and if this thing looks like um a big office building, then that's good. But a lot of times you Google these addresses and it is literally a Staples, right? And someone can look up that address and see, okay, this is a Staples. You don't run your business from here, right? That's what those CMRAs are typically going to be, or a 7-Eleven or something like that. So if it's that, then you don't want to use that. So double check those things. Here's the third thing that I can tell you, the quick nugget that I can share before we wrap this part. All right. Again, I hope this is helpful. I hope you guys are taking notes. I said I paid a lot of money for this information, you guys. And it's hard to communicate like how valuable it is. I'm just telling you, just please take notes, right? So the other thing that you need to do is, if you do use a virtual address, you need to make sure when you register your business with the IRS, with the state and things like that. Sorry, 1 second. When you register your stuff with the state, you want to make sure that that address that you put does not have the box number in the address, right? So when you get the address from iPostal One or whatever the case, right, you're gonna get a something that's like this, like 123 Main Street, Suite 300, number 2005, or box 2005, or PMB 2005. You want to leave that 2005 part off of your official business filing, because what that does is it automatically communicates that this is a mailbox and it's not like a physical location, right? That's a super gem. Now, what's going to happen is, if you get mail sent to your address and you only have the suite number on there and your business name and your box number is not on there, right? The mail will still get to you, because the company is going to know, okay, well, this is the business that it's attached to. So the mail is still going to get to you in most cases that I've seen. But then you're just able to navigate that much better when it comes to the state filing, and also when it comes to, whatever else that you're doing for the business credit approvals and the IRS and things like that. Like, all that's going to go better if you leave off the box number, right? So again, I hope you're writing this down. What's going on, Shay? Good evening. So let's get through the rest of this before we wrap this up. We talked about the name and the business address. Those are two critical pillars. Next is, your information needs to match exactly to the T across the board. So that means the casing, whether you use periods or not, whether you use abbreviations for suite or anything like that, needs to be exactly the same on your IRS documentation, on your state filing, on your bank accounts when you file those. If you do a Dun & Bradstreet number, anything that you use needs to be the exact same, because any duplicates are going to look like duplicate businesses. All right. So any differences are going to look like duplicate businesses, right? So you want to make sure that that is the same across the board, right? Now, next is going to be, do you have a dedicated business phone number, right? Something that is legit and separate from your cell phone. So this can cause issues if you're just using your cell phone number. So you want to just get something. You can get Grasshopper, you can get, Call 8. There's like these different things that you can get. We want to get something that's dedicated, that's separate. If you have toll free, great. Local, that can work too. All right. Next is, you need a business website, right? And a domain-based email address. So your business website doesn't have to be anything crazy. This can just be a landing page that looks clean, that has your business name, that has a business logo, has a mission statement or something like that, some description of what it is. And I can touch on this now. We talked about the safe names that you can use. The safe industries that are generally that workable are anything having to do with like marketing, anything having to do with education, with consulting, anything in that area is going to be generally safer than everything else. So if you can gear in any way possible, almost regardless of what you do, if you can mentally say, okay, well, um, I'm going to be consulting somebody in some way, or I'm going to be dealing with marketing in some way, then, and you can reasonably say that, then you can use that as your business NAICS code or your entity or your business description. Right. And again, on this site that's going to be presented to the bank, it's best to just present it that way. Right. So, so you have that. So you have your website. It doesn't have to be crazy. You can do a landing page. You can get somebody on fiverr.com to create it for you in, an hour for $20 and knocked out and done. If you do like GoDaddy and you do that, then you can do they have like an AI website builder. You can just put that in and it'll spit it out pretty quickly. Even that can work. Just something simple and clean and looks legit. Has your business information on there. Your business phone number is listed on there, on the business address, so that when somebody looks it up, it's like, oh, this matches, it's legit, is there, good to go. It's just a little quick check, right? Next, you need a domain-based email address. It just looks more legit to have a .com email rather than Gmail or Yahoo. Right now, like I said, if you want to use your Gmail, business Gmail, for your client-facing side, that's fine, right? If you want to do that. But when it comes to the bank, it just adds this extra sauce on it to be able to position yourself as well as possible, right? Next is going to be your online presence, right? Online presence needs to be solid to where if somebody looks up your business, do you show up, right? Does it show up in Google, right? You can go to Google My Business and submit your information, put it in there, put it in a Google panel and things like that so that it shows up in the search results. Does it show up in Bing, in Yelp, and also in the 411 listing, right? So the national 411 listing, you can go to, write this down, to listyourself.net, right? And put in your information so that it shows up in the national listing. You can pay a fee for the national one, or you can do the free one that's local. And they will not let you use typically a cell phone number for the official like business number. This is another reason why you need a business line that's dedicated, right? So once you do those things, then you are set up, right? I just really literally laid out the blueprint. Once you have those two pillars, that personal credit profile that we talked about and that business entity structure that we just talked about, when you have those two things together, now you can walk in and go and access again 100K, 120K, 150K, 80K, whatever it is. One of my recent clients, from the time that she booked a call to the time that she had 90K for her real estate business, was about 22 days, right? So this sometimes goes a little faster, a little slower, depending on how people respond. But this could be available to you like very, very short order, right? And that's the power of linking those two things together. So again, I would encourage you to make sure you go to fundingmyfuture.net, or you can text me now, 240-240-642. All right. You can text me and I will send you the direct link so you can get a free consultation call with the team. That is what I suggest. I appreciate you guys for tapping in. If there's any other questions that you want to squeeze in real quick. Bentley Ben said, how about a registered agent? Right. So yeah, let me answer that. So yeah, registered agent is a possibility. And you can look up registered agents that have office services where they'll let you sign up as your principal business address. So that's a real thing. You want to do the same check though on the USPS for that address, because if that address for some reason is listed as a CMRA, then you don't want to use it, because now you're going to run into the same issue, right? So a registered agent can be a solid move because I've got the registered agent and maybe they charge me $100 a year or $50 a year to do this address service, and instead of like maybe it's $50 a month, or $70 a month, or $30 a month for a virtual address, sometimes that can be a solid move, right? Depending on your business needs and things like that. So that is a possibility. Like I said, um, the banks are starting to change up. So it's something to be mindful of. And again, the team is going to be able to give you the latest data. And again, according to your situation, like what's going to be best for you, what's going to work out the best. Um, so that's the best thing to do is get on a consultation, but it can work. Registered agent is definitely like a solid option, right? So again, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for the gifts, thank you for the likes, and for sharing this, and for thank you for pouring into yourself on this evening, Thanksgiving evening, and just getting information and pushing yourself forward. I really appreciate everybody that's pushing that in that direction. So, I know life is not promised, and we really have to take action now. And like I said, if you start today, even if your credit is not in a great place, if you start today, then that's going to be the best situation where a year from now, you're going to be thanking yourself. 90 days from now, you're going to be thanking yourself. 6 months from now, 30 days from now, when you're in position to be able to leverage this directly for yourself, or like we talked about, if you take this information and say, okay, I'm going to start using this now because I'm just going to find a credit partner that has this profile, and I'm going to line it up, and we're going to go and off to the races. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to start referring people and making two to 5,000, per deal per person. So you can definitely do all that stuff. So again, I appreciate you guys. Stay tapped in. Make sure to follow me, and we'll look around for the next time. But feel free to DM me. Like I said, you can text me, and we'll go from there. But much love, you guys. Peace. I will see you next time around.